Christy Dewar, Dewar is my last name. First name Christi.
So,
And if it helps, you can look at her the
yeah,
whole
you can
time.
look at me.
Camera doesn't even
Telling
exist.
the camera's not even there. How long did you work at the municipal center?
Since October of 2006.
And on your very first day of work, tell me
I
who you
met
met.
I met Keith. He was in the training class with me. He started in the call center just like I did. I still am in the call center. Keith actually took a position with, he processed payroll, accounts payable, accounts receivable in our department.
Tell me about him as a person. Who was he?
He was there to give you a hug when you needed a hug. He was there to give you an encouraging comment to get you out of any type of mood you were in, make you laugh, smile was unbelievable. He didn't know a stranger. He treated everybody kind. He was a wonderful soul, wonderful person.
Tell me about Friday. What happened? Walk me through from the very beginning of when you realized something was wrong, and tell me that story in your own words.
We were actually celebrating life. We were having a birthday Sunday bar for two of our coworkers whose birthdays were this week. Chris Ann Hester and Josh Pilon. He's one of our newer employees. We were all joking around how we probably wouldn't be eating a regular lunch that day, that we were filling up on ice cream. It got to where it was 4 o'clock, and one of my coworkers, Tiana, started a tradition where she'd message everybody, power hour, let's push through it, got 1 hour left before we have a good night or a good weekend. And we were just like joking around. I was talking to Rashida Gregory and Chernow Fontanelli, that are the closest coworkers I have. And I happened to look at my computer. It was 4:06, and I heard pop, pop, pop. They're doing remodeling in our office, so I thought it was a nail gun. And nobody said what was that or anything. It was just, we felt a normal noise. Then Claudia, Melanie, and Christine that work up front came running through the door, and Claudia said, active shooter in the building, active shooter in the building, get out. The city has active shooter classes. I attended it. One of the girls, Sandra, in my office attended it, but I'm thinking, why a active shooter drill so soon? I don't think everybody's trained on what to do. And Claudia screamed, this is not a drill, this is real, get out of the building now. So we got our purses, we ran towards the south stairwell, and then somebody screamed, too late, run the other way, run. And 7 of us were gonna go out the break room door, and Keith was staying there, and he said, stop, get up against the wall, be quiet, be still, don't say anything. And he said, we need to watch, look out this window. And he kept looking out. We don't know what he saw, what made him know that the shooter was close, but he said, get in Lloyd's office now, barricade the office, get in there. And I said, come on, Keith. And he said, I got to check on everybody else. And we closed and locked the door. We pushed the cabinet up against the door. And it was not too long after that, Dwayne tried to come in. And he fired 4 shots. And I looked up, and 2 of the shots had almost come through the cabinet, the back of the cabinet. And I just kept on staring at it, and we all fell to the ground. and I fell over a box. It made a lot of noise, and I don't know if that made him think that he got somebody, but he moved away, and then there was a couple more shots, and that's when we thought that he had, gotten Keith.
How close were these shots to where you were? Could you see them coming through the cabinet? Could you feel them?
You could feel them hit the cabinet, and you can actually, I mean, when I was staring at where the 2 bullets almost came through, I was like, they were just not indentations, but dents that, I mean, not dents, but kind of like when you hit your head and there's a knot on your head. It looked like that. I'm just staring at it, and I'm thinking, oh my God. And I kept on staring where the paint had, just come off from the impact, and I was like, oh my God, this is real. And
How close is that to you?
as far as where
you would have been when those shots were fired?
they were actually right near the top of the cabinet. And when that happened, all of us were like, keep quiet, stay still. And then the next thing we heard was like a barrage of firing. And we thought it was down on the first floor. And I was thinking, okay, they're cornering him, or he's got an automatic and he was just spraying the whole room. And so I called 911, and everybody kept on telling me, don't do it, keep quiet, stop talking. And the operator said, no, we need to know where you're at, how many of you are there, and if anybody's injured. And I was trying to relay what they asked me to do, and everybody else was saying, stay quiet. So I said what I could say, and then I hung up. And then Pearl apparently was texting somebody that was upstairs on the 3rd floor, and they notified us that he had gotten up to the 3rd floor. So we stayed hunkered, we stayed still. It was like, what is he gonna do? And then we heard code blue, police, where are you, code blue, police, is anybody here? And we started screaming, we were there. And we unbarricaded the door and opened it. Lloyd was trying to get out, and there was a large police officer standing there in riot gear, and he said, no, it's not safe right now. Stay in, don't come out. And Lloyd looked and said, Keith is on the ground, Keith is on the floor. And they made us close the door back up and barricade it back up. And they said, we'll come for you when it's safe. And then they finally came, told us it was okay. We opened the door, and the only thing that I was focused on was an officer's gloved hand. He had a blue glove on his hand. And I grabbed it, and he said, keep a hold of my hand. They instructed everybody else just to keep an eye on the person in front of you. Don't look around, just keep focused, keep moving. But you can't help but look. When I was looking for Keith, I couldn't see him. There was splintered wood all over the floor. Doors were busted off their hinges. One was just like hanging there. There was a window open, and then they were going to take us out the north stairwell, and another officer said, no, don't come this way. Take them the other way. So they took us down the south stairwell, and there was a body there. I didn't know who it was, couldn't tell. And there's so much blood everywhere, and I started just shaking and crying, just heaving. And the officer said, you're strong, you can do this. You need to step over and come with me. And I was like, I can't. He said, yes, you can. And then I found out later that the person I had to step over was one of my friends, Missy. they took us over to the post office, and all of us were just like walking around, you know, we're scared. We're looking for people that we knew. We couldn't find some of our friends. We didn't know who was shot, who was in the hospital, you know, how many died, who was in the hospital, nothing. And they took us over to the courthouse, and I spoke to one of the officers, Ted. All the police were so professional, so kind. You can see that they were impacted by it. They were sad and upset as much as we were, but they kept control of what they needed to do. I spoke with a Chesapeake homicide detective because we had so many people they needed to talk to that Chesapeake volunteered some of their people. And then Saturday, they called me back in to talk to Detective Jorgen. And it was like, when she said who I was interviewing with, I remembered looking around at all the police officers and his vest. And I said, Y-O-R-G-I-N? And she said, yes. And when I said that, she said, yeah. And I said, I remember seeing him.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I didn't even realize I was just, you know, I had remembered him from that. It's just like I was surprised. And when I sat down with him, he's a young officer. I'm 60 years old. He was a young officer. And he kept composed, but I saw in his eyes that he was grieving too.
Yeah.
And after I got done, I had contacted Bettina Williams, who worked in the same office with Keith. And I asked, and she knows his family real well, so I asked her to call them and see if I could meet with them. And they said, of course. I just knew how important it was for them to know how brave their boy was. When I got over there, Keith was the epitome of what his family stood for. They're a strong Christian family. His mother was just, I couldn't believe it. She listened. And they were so good to us when we went.
How were they? I mean, I'm sure they were grieving and in shock.
They were grieving, but you could see how strong their family unit was, how powerful their faith was. When I got done telling them about Keith and what he had done, I had thought Keith was the older brother, but he was the baby of the family. And we were joking about, well, it must have been that bald head that, you know, what made us think that he was older.
Do you think he saved your life?
Absolutely. If it wasn't for him, there would have been 7 more people that had perished. Yeah. He was a hero. Guardian angel that walked this earth that didn't deserve to leave us so soon. Nervin, before I left, his brother, I asked for a big hug. And he gave me one. It felt good. It felt like, you know, it was coming from Keith, but I knew that was his brother.
I hear he gave really good hugs.
Yes, yes, absolutely. He just, oh, I can't say enough about that man. He was so awesome, so loving.
While you were in there, you were able to call your son. Tell me about that phone call.
when we were starting to barricade, everybody was on the phone to the loved ones, and I called Chucky and I told him, I said, Chucky, there's an active shooter in my building. I want you to know I love you. I want you to stay strong, be good, be happy, and just know that I love all of you. Became a granny for the first time 14 months, almost 14 months ago. She'll be 14 months on June 4th. And I couldn't imagine not being able to see her again, not being able to see her grow up.
Been 48 hours, or are we going on a little more than 48 hours now? Or maybe just right at it. Has it sunk in yet? What are your emotions now?
I'm still processing everything. When I heard it was Dwayne, I was so angry, so furious. When I was over at Keith's parents' house, they showed a picture of him for the first time, and I pointed and said, that's the gentleman that did it. And I said, I shouldn't have even called him a gentleman. That's, doesn't deserve that.
Did you know him?
I knew him. I've talked to him before. He would have been a person that if I didn't see a gun, I would have gone up to talk to him.
Yeah. Are you surprised when you found out who it was?
Yes, I was.
Have there been any sort of speculations for why?
No. That's going to be probably a question that's never been answered. When I was being interviewed by Detective Jorgen, there was another worker there that knew Dwayne, and Kate Nixon's husband. He was best friend with Kate's husband, and all three of them were in the National Guard together. And he said that Dwayne had retired, but he didn't know who he was, and he knew him as a coworker. And he couldn't believe it. He told my son that Dwayne had put in his resignation and that he was hired by a different company. It's like, if you were going to do this, why did you go through that process?
Yeah. Did he have good relationships with the people in the building? Do you know?
I don't think anybody had any angry words towards him.
Yeah.
We have people on our side that work with engineering closely, and you know how the rumor mill goes sometimes. If something happened that severe, we would have heard about it.
Yeah.
So, no, it was just totally unexpected.
How did it feel when you got to see your son and your loved ones right after this for the first time? What was that reunion like?
It was relief. It was a just, I won't say joy, but it was just like knowing that I was going to be there for him and his new family. It's just like, I'm going to get to see my grandbaby grow up. I'm going to get to see her possibly graduate, get married, things that I wouldn't have been able to do if it wasn't for Keith.
You give him credit for all of that?
Absolutely. I told the police department that they need to honor him. They need to honor his parents for raising such a humane soul, a Christian soul, somebody that everybody needs to be look up to and try to model themselves by.
Any idea when you guys go back to work, and what does that feel like?
We don't know when we're going back to work. They finally did text and tell us we were going to have a meeting tomorrow between 10 and noon at the convention center. And we're not going back tomorrow, but we should have more answers tomorrow as to what we're going to be doing. Like I said, they were going to remodel, or they are remodeling. The plan was were already in place for our section, and they already knew where we were going to be moved to. We just need to know when, and hopefully have the mindset of the citizens that we start helping again, to keep in mind what we went through. And sometimes citizens can get a little upset with us, so please be patient with us.
Feel weird not having Keith there.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard because I'm going to walk into a place and I'm not going to see friends. Rich Nettle, Missy, Kate, I didn't know real well, but she was a real nice person. And Keith, I think I care deeply about all of them, but Keith, I think we're going to miss the most.
Sounds like you were closest to him.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say?
Well, I told some people that I want the city and hope the city puts metal detectors on all entrances, have a security guard, somebody from the sheriff's office guard the entrances. I, for one, would rather go through being searched every single day, going through metal detectors every day, than take a chance of this ever happening again.
I think that's a pretty reasonable request after what you've been through.
Yeah.
You feel safe going back to work?
I think I'm going to have a very hard time once the remodeling's done to be able to step into that building. It's going to be hard. It's going to take probably all my strength and Keith's memory to get me through that first step.